Imagine a world without the sun. No stars, no moon, just an infinite, crushing void of absolute blackness that stretches for miles in every direction. In the void, even the smallest spark represents the potential for life, a fragile flicker against the infinite dark.
This is the human nightmare.
We are creatures of the light. To us, the deep ocean is a tomb. We look at the abyss and see only cold, empty death. We assume that because we cannot see, there is nothing to be seen. But we are wrong. In the deepest reaches of our planet, where sunlight has never touched, life has not surrendered to the dark. It has conquered it. This isn't a story about the absence of light. It is a story about the invention of it. Now, let's dive into the data and uncover the reality hidden in the deep. To understand the light, we must first survive the dark. As we descend past 200 meters, the vibrant blue of the surface world begins to fade. The ROV depth gauge ticks rapidly past 400 meters, 600 meters, approaching 800 meters. At 1,000 meters, we cross a critical threshold. The last few photons from our sun, which power almost every food web on the surface, are finally absorbed by the water column. Welcome to the Midnight Zone. Here, the environment becomes an evolutionary crucible. The pressure is crushing, equivalent to an elephant standing on your thumb. The temperature hovers just above freezing. It is the most hostile environment on Earth, yet it is also the largest. If biology taught us anything, it is that life here should be scarce. It should be dormant, and, logically, it should be blind. When we send ROVs into this blackness, we do not find eyeless monsters stumbling in the dark. We find predators like the giant squid, possessing the largest eyes in the animal kingdom. We find the barreli fish, with fluid-filled domes protecting ultra-sensitive lenses. Evolution is a ruthless accountant. It does not spend energy on useless organs. Building and maintaining an eye is metabolically expensive.
So why see where there is nothing to see? It fueled the fear that the deep was simply a chaotic, alien realm that
Defied the laws of nature. But the answer isn't that these creatures are defying nature. It is that they have adapted to a reality we barely understand. A montage of deep-sea creatures drifting in the dark, their eyes reflecting the ROV lights. They aren't looking for sunlight, and they certainly aren't looking for us. They are navigating a world lit by a completely different power source. They are waiting for a spark. The solution was to become the light. This is not magic. It is engineering. When we think of light, we think of heat. A campfire, a halogen bulb, the sun itself, these are examples of thermal radiation. To create light this way, you must agitate atoms until they become so hot they release photons. But in the deep ocean, heat is death.
The biological imperative here is efficiency. In a zone where a single meal might have to sustain you for months, wasting energy on heat is an evolutionary
Dead end. So, nature invented cold light. What we are witnessing is a process called chemiluminescence. It is a precise, controlled chemical reaction that rivals our best technology for efficiency. Here we see a molecule locking precisely into the enzyme, resulting in this brilliant burst of biochemical energy. The mechanism relies on two critical components. The first is the fuel. We call this molecule luciferin, a name derived from the Latin for light bringer. This is the battery. It holds the potential energy required to create the photon. But the fuel is useless without the spark. That spark is the second component, an enzyme called luciferase. When these two meet in the presence of oxygen, the luciferase acts as a catalyst. It grabs the luciferin and triggers a violent oxidation reaction. But instead of releasing that energy as heat, the molecule enters an excited state and then immediately relaxes, releasing a single packet of light. This reaction is so efficient that nearly 100% of the energy is converted directly into light. Compare that to a standard incandescent bulb, which wastes 90% of its energy as heat. We have been trying to replicate this efficiency in our laboratories for decades. Yet the humble lanternfish mastered it millions of years ago. But the true marvel isn't just that this chemistry exists. It is how pervasive it is. This wasn't a one-time accident. When we look at the genetic history of the ocean, we see something startling. Bioluminescence didn't evolve just once in a single ancestor species. It evolved independently in fish, in squid, in jellyfish, in bacteria, in worms, more than 30 separate times. The phylogenetic tree illustrates the deep connections across all life. As we highlight the squid and the bacteria, When totally unrelated species, separated by millions of years of divergence, all stumble upon the exact same solution, it tells us that this solution is not a luxury. In the deep, light is not an accessory. It is a prerequisite for life. And the chemistry varies wildly. Some creatures, like the ostracod, tiny sea fireflies, vomit their chemicals into the water to create a glowing cloud. Others, like the vampire squid, have photophores on the tips of their arms that they can modulate like a dimmer switch on a wall. Some don't even make the light themselves. Consider the anglerfish. It cannot produce luciferin. It cannot produce luciferase. If you looked at its DNA, you would find no code for bioluminescence. Yet, it possesses the most iconic light in the ocean. Extreme close-up of the anglerfish's esca, the lure. Inside the bulb, we see swirling, glowing bacteria. The anglerfish has entered into a Faustian bargain with a specific species of glowing bacteria. The fish provides a safe home and a steady supply of nutrients inside its lure. This is symbiosis at its most extreme. The fish cultivates a living light bulb, regulating the bacteria's glow by controlling the oxygen supply to the lure. When we analyze the complexity of this relationship, the monstrous visage of the deep sea begins to fade. We stop seeing a chaotic nightmare and start seeing a highly disciplined biological machine. Every photon is accounted for. Every flash has a cost. Why pay such a high price? Because in the dark, information is the most valuable currency. And it is a language of deception. On the surface, light reveals the truth. In the deep, light is used to lie. The chemicals we just analyzed, luciferin and luciferase, are the ink. Now we must look at what they are writing. The ocean is not actually pitch black to the inhabitants of the mesopelagic zone. A predator looking upward would see a distinct, dark silhouette against the twilight blue. To have a shadow is to be eaten. This created an evolutionary arms race. The prey needed a way to erase their own shadow. The hatchetfish uses a process called counter-illumination. It matches the sunlight filtering from above. A hatchetfish seen from below. Its belly glows, perfectly matching the intensity of the weak sunlight. The hatchetfish has lined its belly with photophores, biological pixels. It detects the intensity of the light coming from above and adjusts its own belly glow to match it perfectly. It replaces the light its body blocks. It is a Klingon cloaking device made of flesh and blood. This is the hygiene we need to apply to our fear. When we see these creatures, We recoil because they look alien. But when we understand the mechanism, the cold chemistry, the convergent evolution,
we realize there is no malice here. But light is also a weapon.
if counter-illumination is the shield, we must now examine the sword. The light that beckons you into the dark. The classic shot of a Melanocetus johnsonii, the humpback anglerfish, its lure pulsating in the void. This is the archetype of the deep-sea monster. But let's anatomize this nightmare. The anglerfish is a slow, cumbersome swimmer. Its muscle mass is minimal. It cannot chase down prey. In the energy-starved abyss, chasing is too expensive. The anglerfish does not hunt. It fishes. The glowing tip of its dorsal spine mimics the movement of small plankton or shrimp.
When a fish moves in to eat the shrimp, it finds the anglerfish's teeth instead. This isn't cruelty. It is
Caloric efficiency. Then there is the scream. What happens when you are small, fragile, and caught in the jaws of a predator in the pitch black? You cannot fight back. You cannot outswim them. You need help. An Atolla jellyfish being attacked. Suddenly, it erupts into a strobing, spinning display of blue light. This is the burglar alarm effect. The Atolla jellyfish, when
threatened, unleashes a blinding, rotating display of bioluminescence.
By illuminating the immediate area, the jellyfish exposes its attacker to larger predators lurking nearby. It screams with light, summoning the giants of the deep to intervene. In a world of silence, light is the loudest sound you can make. We also see this language used for the most fundamental drive of all: reproduction. In the vast, three-dimensional void, finding a mate of your own species is statistically improbable. It is a needle, finding a needle in a haystack the size of a planet. Species have developed secret codes. The male ostracot performs a complex, glowing dance, releasing pulses of light in a specific geometric pattern. Only a female of his exact species recognizes the pattern. This is the antidote to our fear. We fear the deep because we project our own helplessness onto it. We imagine being lost in the dark. They are constantly talking, hiding, hunting, and flirting through a complex web of signals that we are only just beginning to decode. The monsters are not monsters. They are expert communicators, utilizing the only medium available to them. Fight to solve the problem of existence. We have misnamed our planet. We call it Earth, yet over 70% of the surface is water. We call the deep ocean the abyss, a word that implies a bottomless, empty void. A place of absence. That abyss is a word born of human ignorance. For centuries, we assumed that because sunlight could not reach the bottom, nothing else could either. But now that we have the technology to look, really look, we realize that the deep ocean is not a place of darkness. But now that we have the technology to look, really look, we realize that the deep ocean is not a place of darkness. When we tally the numbers, we find that bioluminescence is not the exception. It is the rule. Current estimates suggest that between 70 and 90% of all animals in the deep ocean produce their own light. Think about the scale of that. The vast majority of the habitable space on our planet is occupied by creatures that glow. The ROV spotlights cut out completely. The screen goes black. Slowly, it looks like the night sky.
This is the true perspective. If you were a sperm whale diving to hunt, or a squid navigating the trench, you wouldn't see a terrifying wall of black. You would see a glittering
galaxy of signals. Shirts. The bluefin tuna is one of the ocean's fastest predators. Its rapid movements disturb the deep-sea plankton. You would see the constellations of the deep. The ocean is not a dark basement. It is a vibrant metropolis. Every flash we analyzed, the burglar alarms, the lures, and the counter-illumination, is a conversation. It is evidence of life finding a way to thrive in the most extreme conditions imaginable. We are the outliers. We live in the thin, sunlit skin of the planet. We are the ones who rely on an external star for our vision. Down there, in the massive volume of the deep, life carries its own star within it. When we stand on the beach at night and look out at the dark water, it is the fear of the unknown, the fear of what lies beneath the surface. We imagine monsters waiting in the dark. But science offers us an antidote to this fear. We stop seeing the anglerfish as a nightmare and start seeing it as a marvel of energy efficiency. We spend billions of dollars building telescopes to find life among the stars, hoping to see a signal in the darkness of space. Yet, right here, beneath the waves, trillions of creatures are signaling to us every second. They have turned the most hostile environment on the planet into a home. So the next time you think of the deep ocean, do not think of the cold, crushing dark. Of the fireflies of the sea. Think of the hidden constellation that has been burning for millions of years. Waiting for us to finally turn off our lights and watch. End of script. Conclusion.